I was hoping to ask about your trip to, obviously we're here in Washington, D.C., and you've been meeting with elected officials here in the United States. What do you see as kind of the objective of your meetings? What are you hoping are the outcomes of some of your interactions with American officials?
During this visit, I was in Czech Republic for the Forum 2000, met several leaders, global leaders, and then we were in Germany, I was in Mexico, and now here in the United States, because a lot of people don't understand the motivations of the Chinese government, what they're doing around the world, particularly in countries in Latin America and Africa, all this. So while in Mexico, I was asking the students, I spoke at Guadalajara University, Itasco University, and congressmen, congress people at the local level, I asked them, have you heard about Belt and Road Initiative? And they shake their head. So I say, if you have not heard about Belt and Road Initiative, you don't understand anything about China. So we need to create more awareness about what China is doing, and also the fact that liberal democracies are really strengthening authoritarianism. There were also reports about American tech firms from the Silicon Valley helping the Chinese government in supplying technology and know-how on surveillance and control inside Tibet. So this is also something that needs to be known. And some of our friends say, oh, the dragon is biting at us, dragon meaning China. So I tell them, dragon at one time was very weak. Who made the dragon so strong to be able to bite back at you? It's the liberal democracies. It's the United States. We don't have to read too many books, just read one book, Kissinger on China. It's the European Union. When I talk about the countries that I visited over the last few days, Mexico has a trade deficit of 115 billion, and they sell only 10 to 15 billion to China and buy 130 billion from China, so you have a deficit of 115 billion. United States have more than 300 billion trade deficit with China. All the 27 European Union nations have 400 billion trade deficit. That alone comes to about 800 billion. And China, with a surplus of more than $1 trillion, spend it on space technology, on robotics, on dual-use technology, on artificial intelligence, military, and Belt and Road Initiative, creating all these dead economies around the world. Now, countries in Latin America and Africa are suffering because they are not able to pay back the loans on the conditions that have already been set. So you hear about delegations of African nations going to China to restructure loan payment. So nothing comes for free from China. That's what we have to make the world know, the reality of China. In the United States, of course, you have a lot of think tanks that study China. It's good because politicians don't have the time. So you need think tanks in countries like Mexico, Latin America, Africa to understand what China is doing. Because by creating debt in the Asian region, China has already taken over part of Sihanoukville port in Cambodia because Cambodian government is in almost 40% debt with China. They're not able to pay back the loans, so they have taken over a very strategic part of that port. And they have already taken over the Coco Islands in Burma. China built a port and a airport in Sri Lanka, hoping to increase trade in what they call the maritime Silk Road. And so there's no business now. So they have taken over the Hambantota port, which is a very strategic location and a huge security concern for the neighboring countries like India. And they have taken over the Gwadar port in Balochistan, south of Pakistan. And they are also building what they call CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, spending about $60 billion connecting Gwadar port with mainland China. So China has access to the whole of Arabian Sea. And China's relation with Iran, China having taken over Djibouti port, which will also become a military base for China if there is a war in the region. Then, of course, in Greece and Portugal, and they've even taken over part of Hamburg port in Germany. So that is how they do. And watching from India, last year, beginning of this year, China opened a big port in Peru. And the Peruvian president seemed to be very happy during the inauguration. But I say, let us see, after a few years, Peruvians don't have to cry because of this Chinese investment. So earlier, China used to invest a lot in these African, Latin American, Southeast Asian, Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. Now they're doing only strategic investment because they also have financial problems. There are a lot of, because some people consider China as a monolith, but there are also a lot of soft underbellies of China. So people have to understand the holistic picture of where China is coming from, because China is not just talking about China or its neighborhood. Because of its action, all the military spending has increased. In Japan, in Taiwan, they have to spend. For New Zealand, security was never an issue. Now it is one. Australia is investing in 7 nuclear submarines to protect against whom? From China. So you have Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, all these countries. India is also spending a lot of money on that. And China is not, as I mentioned, China is not just talking about within China. They are talking about global security initiative, global cultural initiative, global civilizational initiative. So when global leaders of the free world, like the United States, backtracks from United Nations, then China jumps in. They fill the void. And they describe human rights from the perspective of how they want the world to understand, not how the international order describes or the United Nations describes human rights. So there are a lot of larger issues that the world needs to know about China. And that's one reason why we keep traveling, and this opportunity at the press club here is something that we always look to, because there's not much space for nonviolence. Even for governments like the United States, we keep saying to support nonviolence, it comes in millions. But to support violence, it goes into billions. So we have to promote nonviolence as a means of resolving problem at the same time.